The Olympus 17mm f2.8, a lens that doesn't get much respect, but it's actually got a bigger following than you might think. Let's take a look at it. Hey, welcome to my channel. The Olympus 17mm f2.8 is a lens that has been much maligned, by online reviewers and in print. But it's really got quite a following. People that actually use the lens seem to really like it. So we want to take a look at it this morning, talk about what it is and what it isn't, and see if it might be something you want to add to your kit. Before we get started, if you would, please click the like and subscribe buttons, and let's get going. So the other day I did a review on the Leitz 35mm f3.5 Sumeron, and this is the lens and the Canon L2 that I have it mounted on. I showed in that video. I'll put a link in the description down below. But this Leitz Sumeron kind of has a similar reputation, or used to have, as the Olympus 17mm. Back in my film days, I was shooting Leica rangefinder cameras, and my brother shot Leica, M rangefinder cameras, and I had some friends that did. And I found and bought a 35mm f3.5 Sumeron with the eyes. They're called eyes. They're like a piece that goes across the front that makes the viewfinder match the angle of view of the lens. And my brother kind of pooped on the lens and was like, well, it's not a very sharp lens. You should really get the f2.8 or get the Summicron, f2 Summicron, or whatever. And he just kind of acted like the lens really wasn't worth having. And yet, I thought, made by Leica, it can't be horrible, right? And I see the same thing with this Olympus. You see people online saying, oh, it's soft, or it's not great, or, and some of the online reviewers just have not really given this lens much love, you might say. And it kind of has that same kind of reputation as this Leitz Sumeron. But I think people that actually use the lens on a regular basis have a different opinion. I don't think Olympus would put their name on a crappy lens, first, to begin with. And second, it's not. It's a great lens. I really have loved and enjoyed using this lens. So let's talk about it a little bit. 17mm has a 63-degree angle of view. That's equivalent to a 35mm lens on a 35mm film camera or a 35mm lens on a full-frame digital camera. So that angle of view, that this replicates for micro four thirds is one of the most popular lens focal lengths for photojournalists, for just everyday carry, for just a lot like street photography. It's just a wonderfully usable focal length. Both these lenses, interestingly enough, are very compact. The f2.8 Olympus is just a tiny bit faster, not much. These are very lightweight. Like I say, they're compact. It's a beautifully made lens with a metal lens mount. It's the only control on it is a focus ring that is just super smooth. It is just buttery smooth. It focuses by moving the front lens element in and out, and it's threaded for 37mm filters, so you can put filters on it. The front does not rotate, so if you're putting some filter on there that you don't want to, like a gradient or something that you don't want to rotate, that it won't do that. The focus on this is not super fast. It's Olympus's first micro four thirds lens. Obviously technology has come a long ways, but it's decently fast. If you're trying to shoot sports or something, you're probably going to be disappointed with the focus speed. But if you're shooting something like that, there's a lot of other lenses that would be good for that. This is great for street photography, for just, every day-to-day average photography. It focuses decently close. It's down to about 8 inches. And while it's not a macro lens, and I don't use it for macro, it takes decent close-ups. I think you'll see that in some of the pictures that I show you. And this lens is, I think, beautifully sharp. It's known for not being as sharp at the edges, and I'll admit that. But where you need it to be sharp, where you want it to be sharp, it is very sharp. Now, I think its best image quality is around f5.6. I tend to use it between f4 and f5.6. Every now and then I'll stop it down to f8 if I feel like I need the extra depth of field. But it's, it's just a really wonderful lens. I carry this generally on an Olympus EP1. This is one of the cameras that it was originally introduced with. and makes just a great little everyday carry around camera. The neat thing is you can buy this lens very inexpensively. I was looking online this morning at some online auctions, and I saw some of these that you could get as cheap as $85 and as much as $150 or $60, depending on, you know, where it's coming from. And, you know, the image quality on this lens, I think, is really quite good. I know people do say that it's not as sharp at the edges, but you know, I went through a period of shooting a lot of pinhole photography. And one of the things that did for me was teach me that there's a lot of things that are more important than sharpness when it comes to an image. You know, the composition, the tonality, the subject matter, just so many things about an image, you know, that are important. And with pinhole photography, there is no sharpness. So you learn to just dismiss that and start thinking about what else makes a good image. And I think it's a great exercise even if you get a pinhole lens for a digital camera, or if you make one, it's a great exercise to like take sharpness out of the picture, so to speak, and take pictures or take images, make images that, you know, with a pinhole lens, you know, your lighting, your composition, your subject material, all those things become so much more important. You can't, you know, rely on sharpness to make your image have some wow factor. You know, you've got to actually think about the other things. So, having done that, I really began to appreciate this lens more. And it's not that it's unsharp. This lens, I think, is beautifully sharp. You stop it down to f2.8, I think it takes, you know, images great. Even at f2.8 wide open, it's very sharp in the center. The edges do have some chromatic aberration. You get some color fringing. But you have to really blow the images up to see it. So, you know, unless you're shooting pictures of something where the edge detail is critical, maybe like some landscape thing, then it's really, it's just not that much of an issue. You know, if I was an architectural photographer, would I use this? Probably not. If I was a landscape photographer, would I use it? Probably not. But for everyday carry, for family pictures, for just, you know, street photography, just everyday kind of photography stuff, it's a great lens. And like I said, super compact. This thing will easily, with a pin type camera, it will easily fit in a coat pocket. So it's just really a great lens, I think, for a lot of those uses. So let's take a look at some images, and you know, I'm going to show you some close-ups, show you just some day-to-day images I've taken. There's some pictures of some old buildings. I've just got kind of a collection of pictures I've taken over time with this lens, and I've been using this lens for quite a while. And you can see what you think, and we'll talk about those on the other side. Well, there you go. I hope you enjoyed those images, and I hope you can see from those images that this Olympus 17mm f2.8 lens is absolutely capable of making some very nice images. Now all those pictures were shot with this EP1 and this lens over a period of quite a bit of time. Now often when I'm using this, I will add a lens hood. This is an inexpensive lens hood I bought online. It's actually vented like a rangefinder camera lens hood. But 37 millimeter, just screw in lens hood. It helps keep some stray light out of the images, and doesn't vignette or anything, and helps protect the front of the lens too. So that's kind of nice. So a lens hood's often a good idea. But a lot of those images you're seeing there weren't even shot with a lens hood. So I hope you, like I say, I hope you enjoyed seeing those images. If you're wanting a compact, 17 millimeter or 35 millimeter equivalent lens for your micro four thirds camera, is definitely, I think, something to consider. I've really enjoyed having and using this lens. And I've got the 20 millimeter Panasonic that's faster, just slightly longer in focal length. It's sharper, if you will, I guess at the edges. But it's a little bit bigger and not one I always grab. This little 17 is just one of my favorites. So if, like I say, if you're looking for a 17 and need something that is budget-wise, is pretty friendly, this is definitely the way to go. Cool thing is, and I paid a little more than $85 for this lens. I think I paid $120 or something like that. Paid $55 for this camera body. I have less than $200 in this whole outfit, so I don't mind carrying it around if something were to happen to this, if it got lost, stolen, broken, whatever. It wouldn't, kill me to replace it, and so it's really kind of gives you some kind of freedom when you can carry around a camera. You don't have to worry about something happening to it. I almost sometimes hate carrying around a really expensive camera. I'm just afraid something's going to happen to it, and I tend to more often leave the expensive ones at home when I really should be out using them. Anyway, so that's the Olympus 17 millimeter. If you have any thoughts or questions, please don't hesitate to leave me a comment. I hope you enjoyed the video and you'll join me for the next one. And as always, thanks for watching.